Welcome back, my fellow patriots, to the Save Our Republic Daily video series. Today I'm going to continue our review of the Preamble of the Constitution. And to bring you up to speed, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and the phrase that we're going to focus on today, promote the general welfare. Now, this is an interesting phrase. And I think we need to spend a couple minutes to really understand what this means. When the Founding Fathers wrote that phrase, promote the general welfare, that was a purpose for adopting the Constitution. And in one sense, that was a term of art. What the framers had in mind was that you needed a government to fulfill the basic responsibilities that the social compact envisioned. Now remember, the social compact is the idea that the people give up some of their natural rights to protect themselves and their family over to the government so that the government can protect the remainder of the unalienable rights of the people, such as the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, property, etc. If you're in a state of nature and you don't have a government to protect you, then everything is at risk, because the only way you can defend yourself is through brutal force or vigilante justice or something like that. And we don't want to live short, nasty, and brutish lives, as Thomas Hobbes, the English philosopher, reflected on, and John Locke, another English philosopher. So instead, we've come together as a people, giving certain authority to the government, and in return, expecting that the government is going to protect our individual liberties and lives and other unalienable rights. So the idea of the general welfare means that it's for the whole society, that it isn't something that is designed for a particular special interest group or a particular set of individuals or a particular person, but instead that the government would act to protect the general welfare. So we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. This is being recorded on February 20th of 2021. And if you're watching this several years in the future, you might not know this, but we're in the middle of a pandemic with the COVID-19 pandemic. 500,000 people have died in the United States. There's a real sense of concern about health and safety in connection with the spread of the virus and the contagion. And the government has worked on getting vaccines and is working both on the federal level and the state levels to protect the people. And there's a huge raging debate about whether or not the governments are doing it correct, and there's some scandals and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is that stopping an epidemic certainly would fall within this idea of the general welfare. On the other hand, if you had a specific bill that was passed to give a specific company a tax break or a tax subsidy, direct funding, so that it could pursue its ambitions to grow bigger and be a more vibrant company and to have a higher profit margin, I don't think that the Founding Fathers would have believed that to be in the general welfare. Now, there's some things kind of in the middle, right? I mean, I'm using some extreme examples. Army, military, as we talked about earlier, to provide for the common defense, clearly within the general welfare. Roads, transportation system, likely to be found within the general welfare. On the other hand, a few years ago, there was this huge controversy over what they called the bridge to nowhere, which was somewhere in Alaska that they built a bridge, and there was substantial criticism because this was unlikely to be used by the general people. It really went to nowhere, or nobody was going to use it. And so you can see where something as simple as the idea of infrastructure, utilities, transportation, etc., could be considered to be the general welfare, or in specific circumstances could be corrupted to not provide for the general welfare. Same thing with fighting an epidemic. If we had a specific earmarked appropriation to a specific company, let's say that never existed before, and they're creating this new company, and it's going to provide masks to help fend off facial masks to help fend off the pandemic, and the people that received that money really had no experience but maybe they had connection to some people in the government and therefore they were able to get this money directly to them. That might not be in the general welfare because it's really designed. You could have met that need in a number of other ways and not to basically line the pockets of someone that had connections with the government. So you really have to look at this in a very granular level. Is what the government doing providing for the general welfare? The Constitution announces that it's intended to provide for the general welfare, and that's what we need to remember when we look at public policy and demand accountability from our elected officials in the government via the social compact. Until next time, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget about America's Survival Guide at americasurvivalguide.com, my book, Patriot Lessons, American History and Civics, the podcast, available everywhere on podcast platforms, as well as Patriot Week at patriotweek.org. Like, subscribe, and share. This is a grand experiment. I'm planning to do 100 of these. I'm trying to see if this is something that is worth your time and my time. So if you like it, then you really should like it, subscribe, and share. Until tomorrow, God bless you, and God bless America.